Hello, my name is Jack Bulman, and today I'll be going through the 2024 NVYO Audition materials. I'm going to play through each little bit, and then I'll go through the pedalings and fingerings that I use, and then I'll go through some practice techniques and performance tips for all of them. So there isn't too much to say in the way of fingerings or pedalings for these arpeggios because you're just in C minor, so you don't have to do any pedaling. And fingerings they're given to you, and I use those fingerings that they give. They're good. In terms of things to practice, I would say that block chord practice is important on these. So because you want to be able to get your hand from one pattern over the other hand to the next pretty quick, I would practice in block chords. So you just do all four or three notes that you play at the same time, etc., and that'll help you get your hand quickly and accurately to the right place. Another way that I would practice these arpeggios is using practice rhythms or practice patterns, whatever you want to call them. So doing like long, short, etc., or you can do short, long, short. You can group them up into three. And all those things will really help with the evenness of these. Another thing that'll help with evenness is at the tops and bottoms of the arpeggios, just really isolating and practicing the turnarounds. So and make sure your placing is accurate. So you place as you play this bottom note, you place back up into the 2-1, and the same in the right hand. There's a few different ones up there. Making sure that your placing is accurate, because those are like the trickiest parts of the arpeggios. In terms of performance tips for these arpeggios, there isn't too much. I would just say you don't have to worry about them being too metronomic. It doesn't have to be like etc. You can sort of flow with them a little bit more. So it doesn't have to be too beat by beat. So for the fingering for this first excerpt, it's kind of just whatever works for you. I would suggest doing, for the first couple measures, I do 1, 2, 3, 4 in the right hand, and then I do 1, 2, 3, 1 again with my thumb in the left hand. And I think that kind of makes like a nice looping pattern. From then on, it doesn't really matter with those quarter notes. You can play them however is comfortable for you. So this excerpt number 1 has a little bit of pedaling in it. We start in F major, so just your B flat pedal, and I do play through it just fine for a little bit. And then on this fourth measure is where you start having to pedal. So I do my C sharp on that C sharp there, so making sure that it's placed before I do the pedal. And then on beat 4 I do B natural. And then the next measure, beat 2, we go back to C natural. And then we're set for a little bit until that C sharp at the end, which I just do as it comes, making sure that, again, that we're placed before so it doesn't make any noise. I'll play through those two measures starting at the fourth measure here real quick. So I do C sharp, B natural, and then C natural right there. So you'll notice in this first excerpt that each note has a little rooftop accent over it, and it also has the marking very clearly and not held back. Basically what this means is that you want the harp to sound distinct, and you want each note to be very clearly audible. You don't want it to be kind of like mushy all rolled together. It has to be like almost military-esque. So take that into consideration when you're thinking about how you're going to perform it. it's piano, but you should still stick out above the rest of the orchestra, essentially. So for the second excerpt, there's just a little bit of pedaling at the start. We start in almost B major, so on the left side we have B natural, C sharp, D sharp. On the right side we have E natural, F sharp, and then G natural, and then A sharp. And there's not too much variety in what you can do in terms of pedaling here and when you can do them. You just sort of have to do. So in the first measure, this is written as an F double sharp, but it's a G natural that we play. And then as you put your finger down again, do that G sharp pedal. And then similar thing in the right hand, E natural to E sharp as you put your finger down. And then you have to get back to E natural somehow. I like to do it on beat 3 of this third measure. I do a muffle and the pedal at the same time just to make it easier. So it sounds like this all together. And then pedal here. And then you go into the rest of it. So once we're done with the first 3 bars of this excerpt, we actually don't have any more pedaling to worry about. But we do have some tricky fingering starting at 2 after 14, where we have this sort of parallel thirds pattern into that chord at the end, and that can be kind of tricky to play cleanly. So you actually can't place it all here, otherwise you'll be muffling strings that you need to play with your other hand. So you kind of just have to do this one at a time placing. And then after each of the 2 8th notes, I do a little hop, so da, 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 and then a little jump to the next pattern, and then another little jump to the next pattern. And for this chord at the end, I actually place that low note with my left hand. So I do into the chord, and then because it's a rolled chord, you have a little bit of time as it's rolling to get your right hand up here to where it needs to be for those notes. So slow down, it looks like this. And then full tempo. One last thing to look out for on these excerpts is the dynamic difference between them. You're going to want to make a lot of contrast, especially in the audition. So starting out with your first one, even though they're all accented and everything has rooftop accents on it, the first one should be much quieter. So I have the wrong pedalings right now, but going from this to the very strong start to the next one. So for choosing the solo for these auditions, it may seem tempting to choose something really flashy and technically challenging, but my tip is that it's always best to choose something that you can play super, super well, rather than something that's maybe very difficult and very flashy, but that you might not be able to play quite as cleanly. So I would talk to your teacher about that, decide with them what solo you want to play. And with that in mind, good luck!